I had about over $500,000 in debt between credit cards and 4 houses.
Oh my God.
And
Mike Chang.
Mike Chang.
Mike Chang.
Mike Chang.
Hey man, it's Mike Chang from the Six Pack Shortcuts channel.
the only way that I can start the Six Pack company was to stop paying everybody. And so I did.
He redefined the online fitness game before influencers even knew what virality meant. The original YouTube fitness phenomenon, the six-pack king who took a simple idea, short, effective workouts, and turned it into a global movement.
What happened was when I took the mushrooms, the energy elevated inside. It gets you to be very hyper-focused. You get to feel a lot and your perspective shifts.
He launched Six Pack Shortcuts, one of the first fitness channels in history to explode on YouTube, hitting millions of subscribers, hundreds of millions of views, and generating over 8 figures in revenue.
I was concerned with one major thing, because before I took the mushrooms, I was sitting through some talks and then I found out that I wasn't authentic. And I wasn't okay with that.
By his early 30s, he had built and exited an empire most people wouldn't even dare to dream of. And then he walked away.
How do you retaliate when you're in that scenario? It's like, I will do whatever I want. In any point of human existence, as long as your child is alive, could you ever say, I'm never going to care for you? Hi, Mike, and welcome to the Be That Life experience. It's so cool to have you here.
It's a pleasure.
And no better place to do this podcast with you than in Bali, where you've been living now for the past how long?
About 6 years. Maybe
6
it could
years.
be close to 7 now. I've been saying 6 years for a while.
Yeah. I think you're
It's like the kids. It's like,
fixated
oh.
on that number.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like I think ourselves. We grow in years, but we never grow internally. I'm stuck at like 25. Honestly, I never feel like I've ever grown past 25. I think that's why I contribute my looks and youthfulness and my energy, because I've always just retained the fact that I never want to go past 25. How do you feel about that? How old are you?
See, I always have to think about it because I don't think about it very often.
Okay.
I turned 42 last year, so I'm 42 now. I'll be 43 later this year.
That's right. We're here to talk about raw truths and your truth, my truth, and really bring a completely different level of awareness to the audience today, because I want to understand who Mike is today. I mean, you've transitioned a lot, 10 years, like a decade, since you stepped away from, the six abs, shortcuts era, and now you're like a completely different person. And the person that you are today is mega well respected. You were also very well respected then, but the person that you are today is much more so, I would say, because now you're a father of 2 beautiful children. Am I right, too?
Yes.
A boy and a girl.
Yeah.
And also you are a wonderful husband. And I love, love, love going through your social media account, your Instagram particularly, because it isn't so much just about what you do for work and what you're passionate about, but you bring so much light to people's life, from how you are as a husband to how you are as a father. And I love that. I love those kind of elements, because we need more of that in the world. We are so suppressed as a society. We are put into this box, and we are supposed to behave a certain way, think a certain way, live a certain way. And if we don't fit in that mold, there's something wrong with us. Now I'm in my 40s. I have a lot of friends who are still single, by the way, both male and female. And
They didn't just get together?
no, I wish. I should start something and help.
You're like, isn't
create
it
that little
obvious
big
here?
human. But I think, isn't this the paradox of life, though? There's so many incredible people out there, yet there's so many people who are still lonely and not together.
Yeah.
Right? So, finding and meeting people who have an incredible partnership, they work together, they're, incredible parents, those dynamics are just so rare to find these days, specifically because the divorce rates are super high. People are no longer together. No one believes in monogamy anymore. There are people promoting completely different lifestyles and thinking that's normal. And we have platforms like social media that promote a life that isn't sacred anymore, So what's your journey now? Where are you today? What is that like?
Well, I came here barefoot.
My God.
That's different.
Cool.
The old me was wearing shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I drove on
love
this.
that.
I drove on the scooter barefoot. It's I when I realized how my mind worked, over 10 years ago, and I realized like I don't have to believe all the stories. Then I just start to do what I want. And then there's really no such thing in my opinion of like what's really right and wrong, because every person at a different age have different interests. You have a different background, and based on that background, this is what you want to do. This thing happened to you, so naturally that's what you want to do, right? You're very angry. There's nothing wrong with you being angry. You're supposed to be angry. Look what happened to you. I think so. So when we start to dive in, when we start to peel back layers, we start to be able to be able to fully express ourselves, whatever that looks like. And to answer your question, like, I mean, what am I doing now?
A lot. Let's just say a lot.
My primary focus.
Yeah.
I want everybody to be able to have a simple way to feel good in their body, to be healthy. Before, when I was doing the six-pack shortcuts thing, it was very similar, except it was about helping people put on a lot of muscle, burn fat, and just build the body. Now, we go a layer deeper, or maybe multiple layers deeper. Let's go ahead and help everybody become healthy and happy.
Yeah.
Now, if we dive into specific things, we can dive into elevating consciousness and embodying their higher self or expanding their awareness. But I think the most practical way to look at it is I just help people become healthier and happier and make it so it's easy to do. It's so complex, when we put a lot of scientific words behind it and then start to tell people about so many things, it gets to be so overwhelming that when I've been in fitness for so long, and I look at people and I think, why can't somebody do the most simplest things? If somebody just did a squat, if you just go run, who doesn't know how to run? And so, but it's their mind that stops them. The reason that their mind stops them is because they get so much information that confuses them, and then they don't feel confident enough to go ahead and do it. And they think that they need the right timing, they need a specific coach, they need all of these tools in order to do the most simplest, natural thing to take care of themselves. And I'm here to help people break out of that program and let them know there is a time to where you can have a coach, to where you can go into finding all the toys that are out there to level up. But that foundation that you can establish doesn't need any of that. That foundation to get you from where you're at to being much, much healthier doesn't require any of that. And it just requires you taking a little bit of action, just a little bit every day. And that's what the training system and the mentality is really about, to help those people. And I think when people get there, what will happen naturally is that they're hooked on feeling good. They're confident that, hey, if I can do this simple stuff and I'm getting good results, what else is out there? And then from there, they can dive into all the countless stuff when it comes to health, all the countless things they can take, and they can do all that later on. But they already established a nice foundation. It's like they're empowered. They don't ever think that I can't do something because I don't have the money to buy all these things, or I don't have the ability to fly over there to see that expert. You don't need to right now. You really don't. You may never need to. Most people probably don't even care. And that message is spreading fast. And all the things that I do, it's simple because I was purposely created for that purpose.
I had Dr. Zach Bush on my podcast recently, and he said something which was, to your point, is that he found it so strange that in LA that they had biohacking centers right where the beach was. And to be able to go and do your vitamin D experience or do a red light therapy and use an ice bath and a sauna and all those, when you can literally just go outdoors, start grounding yourself, and you will have an even better effect than what you're getting indoors. So it's like the world has gone backwards into making it way too complicated for us than really just going back to the basics. Why are we overcomplicating life? How many people go to a bookstore and buy science books? People want self-development books. People want self-growth books. They want to understand how to become successful, how to make money, not the root cause of all evil, and they want to just be able to use it as a tool to have everything they want, right? But yet it's always about overstimulation, overdoing, overhacking, and less about bringing ourselves back to the basics. It's the same as I say about nutrition. And like, oh my God, the amount of overwhelming information that we see online today on nutrition alone. One day eggs is great, the next day it's bad for you, the next day coffee is great, the next day it's terrible. Like, if you're not a drinker of coffee and they say like tomorrow, the new studies came out that these are the benefits of coffee and you should be drinking it. Should you be questioning yourself that over the last decade you haven't been drinking coffee? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing, right? When we are just trusting all the information that's out there, it becomes really confusing because the person has to realize that they have a different lifestyle, their body's a little bit different, they're looking for something different. So instead of listening to all the information, a person learns how to connect to themselves. They learn how to feel. They know how to connect to their own nervous system and to feel what's happening inside. And then from there, knowing some information is fine, but it's not the determining factor. They are. Someone goes, this food is great. I eat it and it doesn't feel good. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to remember that people said it was great, but I'm not going to eat it because it doesn't feel good right now for whatever reason. Maybe fast forward 6 months or 6 years from now, I try it again. Wow, I like it. I mean, that's what happened to me with vegetables.
Right? Yeah.
Everybody told me vegetables are good, but I didn't believe it, and I didn't eat it for a long time. But now I do.
Yeah. You didn't eat vegetables, just like I know a lot of people don't eat fruit at all.
I mean, I was, when I was a bodybuilding, it was like meat and carbs,
Right. You hated vegetables.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was a kid.
Not even broccoli?
I used to go and chew broccoli and then store it in the side of my cheek like a chipmunk, and then eat all of the broccoli and then I would walk to my restroom and spit it out when I was a kid.
But I get it though. Most kids hate, vegetables and fruits and vegetables. I mean, to see kids today that eat that is kudos to the parents. But in general, like, do you have to force your kids to eat that? Do you actually enjoy it?
They eat a little bit of it sometimes.
Yeah, because it's not the tastiest thing, And of course, as we get older, our taste palates change, our taste buds become different, and we're craving for more those types of food. But when we're younger, we're not craving those.
Yeah. But at the same time, the lifestyle is different. Like, you look at kids are twirling around. Like, right before coming over here, my son was like, watch, Dad, watch. He jumps off the couch and he does like a roll and just slams. And he's like, and I go, oh, it's great. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do it again. So then after like telling me for like the 9th time, I was like, hey, son, I got to run now. I got to. He's like, no, I'm going to do it again. I'm like, okay, you do it again and I'm going to run. So then what's the impact when we're rolling around and flopping ourselves and slamming ourselves on the ground? Well, that shakes up the body. That breaks up things. So on one end, maybe he's not eating the healthiest. He's not eating all his vegetables.
Yeah.
But on the other end, he's so active that it counters that. So I think so we need to trust our bodies. We need to know that it's not about perfection. It's not about constantly judging ourselves that we're not doing a good job at this and that. I think if we did less of that, then we can be 80% eating healthy, or we can be 80% doing the right movements and everything else is the wrong movements, but we are still going to be fine.
Yeah.
And we let go of the whole perfection, self-judgment thing.
But that's the point that you made, right? Because as children, we are so active that even if we're eating the things that are not super healthy, we're counteracting the inflammation.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that today is that we're eating unhealthy, we're drinking unhealthy, sleeping random hours, and we're not moving.
Yeah.
We're not being active. We're not managing mental health issues. And that's where inflammation is constantly building. So I guess that's the balance, right? That
and people can too. People can. I mean, they have the skill set. Because, the moving around is just moving around.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't have the skill to move?
Right.
They just don't give themselves permission.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And so when I post videos of like I'm stretching at the airport, or I'm stretching at a restaurant, or I'm moving, I get the comments people are talking about, I can't believe you're barefoot there. But, the reason why I do it is just so sometimes people just need permission. And when they see that somebody else is doing it, they go, well, maybe I can. And I encourage people, share it so this way we can get more people. So we start to change the norm. If other people are doing it, maybe I can do it. And before you know it, it can't be stopped. Everybody's doing it. Now, nobody cares that it looks weird because it becomes the new norm.
Yeah.
There's always got to be trendsetters. Always got to be the pioneers to kind of.
Correct, the trendsetters. But we got to be careful with the trends, right? Because there's a lot of not so positive trends out there. But like you say, I think understanding and having your own discernment on things is the way forward, because nobody understands your situation, wherever that is in the world today, your body and your thoughts better than you do. And if you're going to go online and listen to a psychologist or someone preaching who's a guru in biohacking, or someone who is an expert in fascia, do they understand your current situation? Because it's really very, very bio-individual, right? It's hard to have somebody online and say that particular movement, behavior, doing is meant specifically for you. So it's better to have like a contrast and understand every single element, like do your yearly blood work. In Japan, I was just there recently, and I didn't ever see a single overweight person, not one in the entire time I was there. People are so soft-spoken. There's no culture of vaping, smoking on the streets, people throwing trash. Even though there were no trash bins anywhere, there was literally it was such a clean city. And what I noticed about them as well is that the way they eat and the foods that they eat, there's literally no, I saw one McDonald's the entire time I was there. There's no junk food culture. It's not the same. 7-Eleven is the healthiest 7-Eleven that I've ever been to in my entire life. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. What is this? It's just so different. The food's there and the way they live and the mindfulness is just different. And now I get it why people are living over 100 there. Now I get it why people thrive way better. But also on the flip side of that, it is one of the highest suicide rates in the world. Right. So that's just one aspect to it. But let's look at it from a global scale, right? Suicide and depression is massive globally. Right. When we talk about it from an entrepreneurial standpoint, from people building businesses and trying to, even in the CEO levels and people running large organizations, studies have shown 1 out of 3 of those people are either depressed or have suicidal thoughts. Means they crack at some point. Right. Because there's the burnout aspect to it. Constantly going without any element of mindfulness, any element of being able to speak to someone, because as you know, most men don't speak about their problems. Okay, maybe it's getting better, but still there's a huge population that will never speak about their problems. And I'm sure there was a crack for you as well when you were building those massive businesses and creating or generating massive amounts of income. And I want to talk about that specifically because the crack changed your life. It made you now who you are today, the path you're doing today, and also building something more than just about aesthetics. You're focused on the mental aspect of it, of the energy. What was that crack for you?
Well, a reference point. I always give the analogy of when we see a dog and you see them on a leash and they're so happy to get walked, and they come home and they're so happy and you walk them 3 times a day and they're just so excited. But then, we think dogs are really excited to get walked. Well, yes, but that's because they don't know anything better. And they imagine if they go out into, if let's say you got to leave town for a long time, you let them out into the woods, go run and be free, I'll come back in 2 years. Then you come back to 2 years, the dog is happy to see you, and then you go and put the leash back on him, bring him back into the house, and you go, I'm going to walk you 3 times a day. The dog is going to be very miserable. It knows what freedom feels like. So then imagine for us, if we grow up and this is the way it is, we need to work really, really hard, don't worry about, it's not about how you feel, it's about what you accomplish, then people start to create this different norm. They don't know what it feels like to feel good. They don't know what it feels like to be at peace. Stress is normal. High amounts of stress is a little bit stress. And when I'm about to break down, I think there might be an issue. And then when I break down, wow, what happened? Let me go and see the doc. And it's because they don't have a reference point. They don't remember what it feels like to feel good. So then how can they know when there's a problem? They don't know what it feels like to have a healthy gut. What does a healthy gut even feel like? I know this is the way I feel, but is it healthy or not? Let me go check it out. But now imagine if somebody creates a reference point for their body and they know this is what a healthy body feels like. This is what a silent mind or a peaceful mind feels like. this is what it feels like to not have stress. And let me sit in here long enough so that this way I'm familiar with it. Now, drop me into my regular life where I'm dealing with all the stress, and now I recognize that I'm stressed from this situation, from this person. I don't like doing this thing, but I'd never realized it before because I just didn't have a reference point. That was me because I worked really hard. I was used to grinding it out. And then when I had an experience where I was able to clear all the energy inside, let go of all the fears, and I was able to see how it felt like to be at peace and for my mind to be at peace and not have worries, I realized like I don't want to go back to that old life. Let me figure out how to be able to live this way. Let me figure out how to do it. And that's why I'm always trying to get people to try things. Just try it out. Because if somebody who doesn't exercise go and start moving, the moment that they move, they feel better. Now it's a small experience, but if they were to experience a little bit, it would project them to do a little bit more. And I want people to get hooked, almost attached in the beginning to feeling good, because that's part of the process. Ultimately, they need to let go of attachment to where they can feel pain, they can be uncomfortable, but they are okay. They're at peace with the fact that they feel uncomfortable. But it takes a little while to get there. They first have to go from where they're at, which is I feel uncomfortable and I don't even realize it and I'm just going to grind it out and I don't really even care because, I think I'm fine. And then they realize that something is wrong and they go in and they start to clean up. They clean up their mind, they clean up their emotions, and they start to feel better. And then they're really interested on feeling better. Forget all the other stuff. I'm going to just do what I can to survive, and let me go all about feeling better, right? And then that's where people go all in. And then at some point, they get attached to it.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's part of the process. And then as they get attached to it, they do it more. So then they start to get used to feeling good. And then they have to learn how to let go of the attachment of that. And when they learn how to let it go, now they move into another stage where they can go back into building their life again. Because when people are really chasing personal development and feeling good, they're not really thinking about serving other people. They're serving one person. But it's necessary because most people have spent their whole life serving other people, working really hard, and they neglected themselves on every level. And so now the pendulum has to swing all the way back to the extreme. So now let me focus all on me, bring up every aspect of me, body, mind, emotions. And then at this point, I'm feeling good. I created all of these environments, people, systems, tools, habits to help myself feel good. Now let me direct my attention outwards. And then oftentimes that looks like, let me teach people or show people what I've been doing. Let me create services and products that support what I've been doing. And that's great because now when we look around, we see so many people that are entering into this wellness space and it's becoming more readily available, which brings more people onto that journey.
I want to take a step back now. Mm-hmm. And you said that, there was a reference point for you. Mm-hmm. Can you just go back to that time when you started? Was it just one thing? Or was it like a thought process that started taking you to this journey of like, I'm not really happy doing this anymore. Like it's no longer my calling. I'm ready to give it up because attachment is one thing, right? When you build something, when it's your baby and you build something, like this is for all entrepreneurs. When it's your baby, and I say this because, I'm attached to the things I've built. And I'm attached to it in a sense that, it's my baby, I grew it. It's so hard to let go of something that you grew to such a big level because in many ways you feel like you're letting the people down, that you've been, you grow a community, you're letting the people down. You are maybe in a position where, what do you do next? What happens? You question everything. And is this the right decision? What will happen to the company after I let it go? Because there's so many companies that get acquired today. The CEO even stays at the organization for like a couple of years. And then when they go, either, I've heard it in many situations, they either flop and they don't do so well or they accelerate 10x. So, right, there's those two. And then the founder of that organization either like looks at that and like, wow, what if I stayed? Could have made it so much better. Or I'm glad I left. So I'm sure all of those things were racing. You have all these like crazy thoughts. And
not really.
No, it was like I'm ready to go and that's it?
Well,
I just want to know.
I was able to change the energy inside of me. And when I did, all the programs in my mind was able to detach.
Okay.
And over time, I started to understand how we work. I didn't study any science. I'm not a doctor. I don't know any of that stuff. Well, what I do know is how I was able to unplug. You know, people talk about unplugging. Well, I unplugged and I practiced plugging in, plugging out, plugging in, plugging out until I started to see. And then when I studied enough things, I started realizing what's happening. I was able to change the energy inside of me and completely. And when I did, all the fears went away. All the emotions were cleared. And then when that happened, all the programming that I had in my mind, the constant racing thoughts became quiet.
Okay.
They stopped.
So is that the reason why you were just like, I'm letting this go? Because you just had this revelation that it's no longer what was serving you at the time.
Yes, but it wouldn't be if people call it a Kundalini awakening.
Okay, yeah. Have you done a Kundalini activation? I haven't yet. I've been asked so many times. It's not yet. I'm not feeling it.
I mean, it's I've done different ones. You know, it's when it changed for me, I became a different person because we are all attached to our sense of self.
Yes.
There's a persona, there's an ego, there's a me, an idea of me, a story of me. So imagine when that disappears.
Yeah.
There is no story of you. So then what happens is all programs stop. So when all programs stop, we tap into something deeper inside of us. People can call it, they start to hear their soul. There's a soul calling, their soul speaking, their higher self is speaking. So they start to continuously just be in this download state. You know, when people talk about, I got download, what does that really mean, right? It means that you didn't really, the information just came in just out of nowhere, or you can say you plugged in somewhere. Well, I was in that state for 2 weeks, completely there.
Oh.
And everything changed. Like my body changed, injuries healed. You know, I was able to suddenly become empathic. I was able to read any picture, any room, and know the energy, know what people are feeling, know what's going on in their life.
What did you do differently? What was it in those 2 weeks that made it change?
Well, it was one event that happened. It was February 8th of 2015.
Okay.
And I was in Utah, in Eden, in the States. And it was a multi-day event, you know, and on the last day, I took some psilocybin mushrooms.
Yeah, I love psilocybin, by the way. I find it's definitely changed my perspective on so many things.
Yeah, and mushrooms, since then I've done countless journeys of those. The mushrooms itself, it was like a supplement. It was a fuel for what was to come. Because there's a lot of people that took mushrooms that night.
Yeah.
But I didn't know of anybody that had the same experience, not even close.
Wow.
So I knew that mushrooms had to do with it, but it wasn't the thing. And what happened was when I took the mushrooms, the energy elevated inside. Yeah. It gets you to be very hyper-focused. You get to feel a lot, and your perspective shifts. Now, this is what usually happens for people. They go and have fun, look at the flowers, hug a tree, play, listen to music, jam out, and they end up just having a good time. Fine. But what I did is I was concerned with one major thing, because before I took the mushrooms, I was sitting through some talks, and then I found out that I wasn't authentic, that I cared so much about what other people thought, and therefore I was fake.
Yeah.
And I wasn't okay with that. I was really upset about it, let's just say the least.
Right.
So
It
I
has
said,
such a profound impact on you.
I was like, because I really believed that I was this real person. I mean, and to realize that I wasn't, because I didn't really understand the definition of it. So when I realized that, I said, forget it. I'm going to stop caring about what other people think. Right? And back then I cursed, so I was like, I'm going to stop giving a fuck about what other people think. That's how I spoke. And so when I took the mushrooms and I started to feel the energy come through, I was able to recognize the stories in my head. When I started to talk to people, I started to see that I was having these stories and that these stories wasn't me. And as I was doing that, sensations started coming through. I started to have this idea that the voice in my head wasn't me. I have a voice, but it's not me. And that was like a big reality check for me, because I thought that it's me the whole time in my head and that I need to believe what I'm saying. Yeah. And realizing that thoughts aren't you was like a really big thing. And I had this weird sensation started to come up on the top of my head, and I was tapping on my head. I was heavily breathing. I was stretching, speaking out loud for 6 hours. And at the end of the 6 hours, everything changed. My energy, I was able to bring the energy up from the base of my spine all the way up, and it opened up my crown. And up to today, it never closed. Things in my body will close. This one never did. So, and it's been over 10 years now, and I can feel it every day. I can just bring my attention there, and it's like, boom. I can feel it right now because I knocked on my head for those 6 hours, and I brought so much energy up, and I was able to blow this out, and that unplugged me from everything. Wow. Over time, over those 2 weeks, I was completely unplugged, and after that, things started plugging back in. Things started to block up in different areas, but not here. This stayed open. Things started to close up. My state dropped down by about 50% because up until then, during those 2 weeks, I was able to understand everything. Imagine everything that you ever want to know, you know. So you're not afraid. There's no concern about anything. You don't need anything. I understood why people can go to the mountains and just live by themselves and then just be at peace, because I was wanting to do that because I didn't need anything. There's nothing I needed. And I remember just sitting every day and just being very peaceful and just enjoying just the moment. And then after that, the state started to drop a little bit. It never dropped to the same how it was before, because I was pretty miserable before without realizing it, because I didn't have the reference point.
Yeah, so you thought that was just normal.
It was just normal. You're an entrepreneur, you're stressed.
Yeah,
Welcome to the world of business.
Right? Pause with me for a moment and imagine if your home could actually heal you. What if your home could nourish you just like a supplement can? At EYWA, every material, molecule, and vibration is selected to heal. Redox water, clean air, crystal energy, and biophilic design, all working together to reset your biology. You don't just live in EYWA, you regenerate there. This is what it feels like to step inside a living supplement. Now let's go back to the episode and explore more ways to return to your natural state.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But have you ever also just tried to understand why we push so hard for that success level?
Absolutely.
What's the reason? Why
People
do we
don't feel
push?
good about themselves.
Why do we not feel good about ourselves?
Because we keep thinking about what we need. We keep thinking about ourselves constantly.
Why? But why? Where does that stem from? It's childhood, yes?
We can say it's childhood, but childhood is just one aspect of it. If we look at one perspective, we can say it was supposed to be that way.
Okay.
Which means we came in for a reason. When we die and we exit out, we came in. We didn't come in to go ahead and have a awesome cush, peaceful, easy life.
But some people have that, by the way.
Some people, right? But most people
Struggle.
not. But there are a few like that, right? But people usually didn't come in that way. So therefore, when they came in, they're supposed to have the struggles. So nothing is wrong with the struggle. Yeah. It's like, how do we grow if we don't challenge ourselves? But then when we're here, what's the causation now? Well, then there's the childhood, there's the environmental stuff. We can say on one level that the energy inside is low in frequency. It's not circulating. We have a lot of blocks, a lot of clogs in our pipelines, our blood lines, our meridian lines, the chakra lines. So these blocks doesn't allow the energy to flow. And when the energy is not flowing physically in the body, our mind is also looking at life in a certain perspective, the same perspective as the frequency of energy. So David Hawkins with the map of consciousness described it really, really well. And so we see through that perspective. Now, you can give that perspective to 100 people, and they will all, with different lives, different roles, and even though everything's different, they will all have the same perspective, so they'll all choose in a certain way. And so this is what's happening across the world, is our energy is low, and therefore we choose and see life in that way. So because physical and energy and mental, it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. They're just all a reflection of each other. So somebody can look at the physical and go, here's why this is happening. You're chemically imbalanced and you have these physical problems. Yes, that's right, if we look at it in that perspective. And if we look at it in a mental perspective, then we'll say, you are thinking this way or acting this way because you don't think a lot about yourself, or you think you're not enough, you think you have all these issues and these traumas that are stuck in your head. That's why. Great. And then somebody looks at it energetically and they go, well, your energy is low. every person is correct. It's just based on which perspective we want to look at. And I think when people don't realize that, they hear one, they hear another, and they get confused. But in reality, it's all the same. You just
But it's all
pick
connected,
one.
though.
It's all connected. So
It's
just
all
pick
connected.
one.
So regardless if you choose one or the other, you need to be able to balance all in one go, right?
Well, a person can, let's say they're interested in energy work. Like me, I'm a physical person. So then I went towards the physical direction. Let me show you how to do it physically. But someone, let's say they're not so physical and they're more of energetic. So then they go, it's all about energy. Great. Yes, it is. Go do that. And somebody goes, it's all about mental. I really love that. Great. It's all about mental. You dive into the psychology of mind. So then they do that. So nobody is wrong in what they're focusing on. They just focus on what they like to. But they just need to understand that it's all one of the same.
Yeah.
And you can just pick which route you want to go into. I decided I focused on the physical in the beginning a lot.
Yeah.
And then I started to focus on a lot of mental. And now a lot of my programs are like a combination of that to change the energy.
Because when you think about it, though, all outcomes are the same. Because
Yeah.
when you're changing
Yeah.
your mindset, you're changing your physical health.
Yep.
You're changing your sleep.
Yep.
You're changing your behaviors. And when
Yeah.
you're doing physical, you're changing your mindset. So really, they're interconnected and intertwined. So regardless which modality you're choosing, the outcome is the same.
Right.
Because you're still all over trying to change everything.
And the reality
So
is
it's
people need
beautiful.
all of them anyways.
Exactly. You need all of it, but if you focus on one, but you're focusing on two, and you focus on one, the outcome will eventually be the same.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. I like that theory and concept and the way of doing things, right?
And just make it easy. That's the
Yeah,
thing. Make it
simple
easy.
for
Let's say
people.
somebody really, really, really loves to focus on sleep. I mean, they got the whole sleep routine, the evening
The
routine, all
Faraday
this.
cave and the whole like putting your phone outside of your room and
They're
everything.
sleeping on grids and all this stuff. Great. You know what? You're all about sleep. So then what happens is their sleep's going to be optimized.
Exactly.
Now, this person also need to move. They also need to eat healthy. They also need to have connections with others. But they can make it simple because they only have a certain amount of time and energy. And they like to focus on their evening routine. Great. So then they just make the rest of the habits feel easy. Let's figure out your eating. Let's figure out your social connections. Let's do some simple movements. You don't need to do an elaborate amount. Just the foundational or the basic stuff, and then you're fine. And then it's all about sleep. Now, another person, they really love to move. So they're doing all this acrobatic stuff and, so then they focus so much on movement. And then their diet, their sleep is all just good enough.
Yeah.
So they make it really easy. And that's the key. Because we can't focus on every aspect of us because we don't have enough time to. You got kids, you got to work, you got to serve other people. You don't have time to focus so much on you on every level. So let's pick the one that you really are interested in. And then the other parts that you need but aren't as interested in, make it easy.
What are your thoughts on sleep? How much sleep do you get as a father, running businesses, as a husband? What does sleep mean to you? Because I'm someone that cannot function without my 8 hours of sleep. I need it to thrive. And if I'm not getting it, I feel I'm not my best, let's just say that. And there are people who are running on 3-4 hours of sleep and are perfectly fine. And they think they're great, they're managing it because they're highly caffeinated, for example, and they're just living life like that, right? But because I don't drink coffee and I've never been a coffee drinker my whole life, I'm a slow metabolizer of coffee when I checked in my genetic testing. So which means that when I drink coffee, I have the jitters and I don't feel great.
Yeah.
And so I resort to green teas and matchas, and those are I don't have problems with those, right?
Nice.
But how about yourself? What's your sleeping hygiene?
When I get it, I get it. Because I listen to my body. Mm-hmm. I listen to my body and I know how much I can push. I can't tell somebody, you need to sleep 8 hours a day and don't ever break it.
Yeah.
Because that's saying don't ever punch a person, ever. Well, what happens if somebody's trying to hurt you? You can knock them out right now.
Yeah,
Don't
totally.
So we can't say that this is the way we do things all the time. So then with that in mind, how do we know what to do? I always go by listen to the way you feel, understand yourself. I know thyself. That's the most important. I know how I can recover. I know how much I can push. And when there are things that I need to get done, and if I can function, I will stay up and I will knock it out. And I do that. The other day, maybe 4 days ago, I stayed up all night.
Okay,
I
so
went
you
to
did
sleep.
an all-nighter.
All-nighter, I slept at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. When my videographer came by at 6:30 a.m., I was taking a power nap for like 10 minutes.
Whoa.
And then so when I got up and I walked out, he's like, "Morning, Mike." I'm like, "Morning." He's like, "We gonna film?" Like, "Yep." So then I knocked out a course, filmed like 4 videos, back to back to back to back. It wasn't my best performance, not close,
Yeah.
but it was good enough. It was needed to be done.
Yeah.
And then after that, I kept going. And then somewhere around like 11, oh, no, not 11, 1, I went to sleep. I woke up at 4:30. And then I'm back to work.
Okay, you make a very great point right now. Your working schedule and the way you were and the burnout that you experienced a decade ago when you left the era
Right.
of that life and the person you are today, it seems as if you're still working the same way.
So the
What's
difference.
the difference?
Yes. So I talk about these stages. There's 4 stages that people go through, and stage 2 and stage 4 look very, very similar. So when somebody is in stage 1, they're like in this victimhood mentality.
Yeah.
I don't have the power to create, right? And it's everybody's fault, right? It's the government's fault, it's my parents' fault, and I feel like a victim.
This
When-
is the 9-to-5ers, you mean? Like people who are
it-
working
it-
like a 9-to-5 jobs.
It doesn't have to be.
Okay,
Doesn't
could be
have to be.
entrepreneurs.
It could be entrepreneurs as well. But most of the time, it's not. Most of the time, it's if we had to stereotype it, we could say it's probably more of the 9-to-5, like you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a mentality. I'm a victim, and I can't do what I want, and I feel stuck. And I'm so frustrated. I want to blow out, but I can't even blow out, so I'm just here bubbling. So then when somebody moves out of that, they move into the next stage, power and control. I have the power. I can control everything. So then now this person tries to control everything, and they are making it happen, grinding it out. But the problem with this is that they're fueled from worry, fueled from fear, fueled from anger. I want to prove to them. And so then they work really, really hard, but they're attached to everything. And emotionally, they're very imbalanced. Physically, they're tense, tight, and have a lot of issues. But mentally wise, they feel strong, they feel powerful, and it's my way or the highway. I'm making it happen, and we build my empire. A lot of entrepreneurs are on this stage. Then from there, they get burned out. They achieve such a high level of success and looking at their life, realizing, I'm not happy, this sucks. What's wrong, right? Then they start to walk away. They go into stage 3 where they reconnect back to themselves. It's the letting go, it's a surrendering stage. They learn how it's like to feel themselves again, feel peaceful, feel calm, know what themselves feel like and how their mind is at when they're peaceful. And then from there, they go into stage 4 where they come back out. It's the middle way. They come back out and they build again. They go ahead and serve people. They follow their passion, their purpose, whatever it is. But now they have a reference point. So then stage 2, power and control, I'm going to make it happen. Stage 4, I'm coming back out to live my life and build whatever I want, make it happen, look very similar. The difference is that when a person's in stage 4, they know what it feels like to return back to themselves.
To center.
So they're never going to be attached the same way. When a person is had this power and control, they're really attached to what they build. They're really attached to who they are, what they have. I have this great body, I'm afraid of losing it. So then therefore, they're emotionally constantly fluctuating. They're emotionally high when they win, they're emotionally low when they lose. And let me look at life. You can't always be winning. We're gonna be constantly fluctuating this way. So your energy is always up and down, up and down. So then now back to the question, the main difference, because now I'm working still hard, just like I was before. I'll be pulling 14, 16-hour days and sometimes longer. It takes a lot to support the operation, especially what we want to do and get this out to everybody. Somebody's got to go and do it. But I listen to my body, and when I can't handle anymore, I'll just lay down on the ground and go to sleep. If I need to take a day off, then I just stop.
And you weren't doing this before. You were literally just on the go, 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 go.
When we fail, which we fail all the time. When we try things, it doesn't work. We tried an idea, it doesn't work. I don't sit there and get upset. I just realize it doesn't work. Okay, all right, well, let's get back to work. Just let it go. Don't make any drama
and
from
back
it.
then it was dramatic for you.
Oh,
it was like, shit hit the fan, and it was just horrible.
Upset,
you were miserable
tense,
for days. And,
and all that stuff.
So the way you handle it now is just way different.
Yeah.
You're more at peace in the way you handle it.
Yeah.
I guess you're more of a logical thinker now, logical, like you're a problem solver, than more emotion based.
Yeah, or we can say more objective than subjective,
Yeah.
right? It's I don't look at my point of view. What do I want to do? I want to make this work. What's happening? It's not working. Put two and two together. What should you do if you want to make it work and it's not working? Get back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Don't sit there and meddle over it, you know? And if you want to think about why it's not working, that's fine. But don't make it personal. And so now, when I can do that, I can do so much more. Infinitely more than I did before, because I spent so much time on the drama before.
Yeah.
On getting upset, frustrated, complaining, stories in my head. But none of that stuff helps me move forward with what I want to do.
Yeah.
So now we can move forward so much faster. And I need to, because with the two kids running around, I've got,
Yeah.
I would be pulling my hair out if I was living this life, 10 years ago.
And by the way, people live that life today.
Yeah.
The way you were living 10 years ago, they're living today.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're a living example to show that that life actually doesn't work because this life works better. You're able to bring yourself back to center, be able to still be present for your children. You're not reactive. You're less reactive and more centered and understanding, like, hey, I can just solve that by staying calm, collected, than choosing the route of anger, hatred, bitterness, taking it out on the wrong people, and then feeling sorry for yourself, right? Studies have shown that losing an identity, and over the years, we lose a lot of our identity. We strip different versions of us. And when you're an entrepreneur and you build a business or you leave a job, it shows that, even an athlete, for example, retiring, or a CEO leaving a company of over 10 years building something, it's the same grief system as bereavement. When you left what you built, and that was your identity, people knew you as that person. You were, thriving. People didn't know you any other version. They just knew that version of you. And whether the world was ready to accept a newer version of Mike, you wouldn't have known that, right? Because you just left that. So how are you navigating the loss of that identity? Because it's impossible that as soon as that finished, you already knew you were who you were and you embodied that identity right away. It took time, I'm sure, to trial and error, building something else.
In the 2 weeks, it was gone completely.
Wow. Okay, let's talk about that. Let's unpack that.
But then after the 2 weeks, it slowly came back.
Yeah.
Well, because during those 2 weeks, when everything opened, you see, like, the identities exist on our conscious mind. It exists in the voice in our head. So when we're thinking, it's not that I used to think that, let go of the thoughts. Thoughts is not the issue, because our mind is the most powerful tool.
Yes.
And so it's just like the phone's not the issue, So when we're thinking, we can either think about ourselves, or we can think about the objective, what we need to do. It's always going to be us doing it. However, if we think about ourselves, then the natural thing comes up next, which is, what is my opinion about this thing? What's my perspective? Do I like it or dislike it? Do I agree or disagree? If I think about myself, that's the next thing. What's my preference? So then, if I don't think about myself, then I can think about the objective. I can think about what I need to accomplish, but not what I think about it, just the action itself. What needs to be done? This. How do we do it? I need to do this, talk this. There's a big difference, because when people think about themselves, they have all of their preferences and agreements and like and dislike, good or bad. And then from there, if they think about something and they label it as good, then they feel good about it. But what happens when they label it as bad? Are they going to feel good? No, they're going to feel bad. So when they label something, I agree with it, I'm going to feel good. And when I don't agree with it, I'm going to feel bad. So then what happens is they already set themselves up for a constant emotional fluctuation. And with this constant emotional up and down, now it affects the way they act. It affects the way they choose. It affects how they operate. And now this is happening because they're constantly labeling themselves. I need to go and be this way. I need people to think of me this way, which is also something else that happens when the person is constantly thinking about themselves. They start to go, who am I? They start to go, what should I be presented as? What should people think about me as? And then they build this persona, and then they become a prisoner of this persona. They have to act this way, look this way, be this way. They're stuck, but they built this invisible cage in their head. So now let's imagine a scenario where a person don't do that anymore. They realize that I am many things. I am this, you name it. Right? I'm a janitor because I clean the toilet. I'm a cook and so forth. So therefore, when I introduce myself, what am I going to say? I'm going to say I'm a whole bunch of different people, and it's going to continuously evolve. I'm a driver. We can go on and on. So then we let go of the labels. We realize that we don't need to fit ourselves in some type of box. We let it go. And then when we let it go, now we just focus on what we need to do. We don't constantly think about ourselves so much consciously. So now, if we are not thinking about ourselves in our head, there's no voice in our head that's constantly thinking about me, and what do I want and all that, then what happens is we decrease the amount of drama in our head. Because so much of people's voices in their head is thinking about themselves and what they like and what they agree, and so-and-so did that to them. When they let go of that, their mind can either be A, more quiet, or B, focused on things that they need to get done. Because, with building things in our life, we need a plan, we need to analyze, we need to figure things out. What is going on in people's heads? Are people doing that, or are they just creating drama? So imagine if a person was really driven, wouldn't they want to focus more on what they're building? So this way they can make it happen, all the minute details, be more creative. Good, you do that. So then what happens is when it's not needed, the mind is more peaceful. Now, in the lower mind, our subconscious mind, our awareness, our knowingness, we are still thinking about ourselves. So then we remove it from that lower mind as well. So we keep removing it because every layer is harder because it's more subtle. So then we go deeper into meditation to go ahead and silence that out. And then when we do, now we're not aware of ourselves anymore as well. In the beginning, not only were we aware, we were also thinking about ourselves. Let that go. Now we don't think about ourselves, but we are aware of ourselves. We're aware of ourselves when we walk into a room. We're aware of ourselves when we talk. You ever have conversations and you suddenly become aware of yourself and you feel it?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And suddenly anxiety comes up. You're like, what the heck happened? And then you stop being aware of yourself and you're just flowing and talking, right? So then we learn to let go of the awareness of ourselves, and now we get ourselves out of the way even more. Because we know that the big worst enemy is not everybody else, it's ourselves. Everybody knows that, people that been in personal development long enough. Who's the worst enemy? Me. It's always me, stopping myself from doing everything. Great. What are you doing to get yourself out of the way? And what we're talking about right now is just that. How to get a person's self out of the way.
Yeah.
First on the conscious layer, voice in the head, and then subconscious layer, the awareness, let that go. And now when we aren't in our way anymore, then we're able to express ourselves to the fullest. All skill sets that we have, we're able to exert. All the expression, we're able to exert. All the energy, we're able to exert.
Is it because of releasing fear, judgment, criticism of others, caring about opinions? That's the level?
Yeah, it's all of that is stopping ourselves. Yeah. It's like we want to go and express, but then we build these walls. Yeah. So imagine we open up all the walls. Yeah. So it's not just about having more energy. It's about the ability to express. It's like, imagine that an expression, if we look at units of energy to make it simple, let's say an expression takes 10 units of energy. But because there are blockages, I'm so afraid of what people will think, to express the same thing, I have to force my expression out. And that takes me 30 units of energy. And I'm always having to force things. So everything that I do takes more effort. It now feels energetically draining. But if we remove those resistant walls, then the amount of energy that it would have taken normally, that's all we exert, which means we can do more. So we don't have to actually have more energy to do more. We just remove the friction. So naturally we are more productive, we're highly more creative, we're more expressive, we can communicate better. Everything enhances, performance enhances, simply because we were able to get ourselves out of the way. We were able to remove all friction, the friction that was happening inside here and inside the mind. Mind and body. Level of the mind, stop thinking about the self. Level of the body, one main thing, relax. If I knew about that, like you said, you don't drink coffee, great.
Yeah.
Then you're not always.
No.
But when we can relax in our body, now we don't stop ourselves in the body. Because you think about it, we want to do things, but then we also tighten up.
Yeah.
So one part of it is trying to move, and one part of it is locking up. So this push and pull thing is happening physically in somebody's body. Now, if a person needs to move, don't you want to go with the flow of that movement, whatever that movement is? But imagine if I'm moving my hands like that and I'm tightened up at the same time, so then I have to do this because I have to break this resistance inside.
Yeah.
And I feel stuck. Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, because you're holding yourself back, one part of you, while the other part is trying to express. Constantly fighting on the inside. So if we stop fighting on the inside by relaxing, just relaxing, relax your hands, relax your feet, then we're able to even physically express. And you remember earlier I said, I want to make it so easy that we take all the complexity, we take all the metaphorical stuff and make it so practical that anybody can understand and do it. So that's why I tell people, just relax. Relax your hands, relax your feet, because it triggers a relaxation throughout the entire body. And when a person does that, they may not be able to relax this or relax that or relax that, because maybe they don't have control over it because it's an unconscious pattern. But it's easier for a person to control their hands.
But, there isn't a single person in the world that doesn't have tense, body parts. We're always tensed, right? It could be in our hips or our glutes when I do yoga, they always tell me I'm super tensed in certain parts. Like I'm not that flexible in certain places, right?
Right.
And some are more tense than others, but that has a lot to do with everything what you said about also emotions trapped, the fear, identity-based crisis, a lot of things that are going on in your mental state that is causing your body to tense up. And you don't even know this because maybe you're someone that even practice yoga. You're someone that doesn't barely do any kind of movement. But when you practice it, yogis understand the tension coming from where. They may not express it to you and tell you, you're tense in this part because you're holding on this. But Gary Lynham talks about it so much, about fascia, yeah? Mm-hmm. And in fascia, he expresses specifically that there's certain points in the human body why that's tensed up, because there's certain emotions that you're holding. It could be, anger towards your mother, or like you're holding in hatred to your father. He speaks so much about emotion-based, and that's practical for people. They can relate to that because they feel that. They know, like, okay, I get it why, I kind of have a bit of tension. Yeah, I kind of have like some problems with my mom and I'm not getting on with her. Or I've carried on this hatred for her for so long that's the reason why I'm tensed up in the certain places in our body. And that's easy and digestible for people to understand and get, right?
Yes.
But also, like when you left, the role at 2015, and you moved into this new role, what was the time gap? Because you weren't living in Bali.
Right.
You were
right.
were you living in the U.S.?
Still in the U.S.
You were living in the U.S., and then at that time you were just like, I'm going to travel. I'm gonna pick Bali as the place, and then I'm just gonna move. Or what happened during that period? What's the transition before we built Flow 60?
So there was about 6 years.
Okay, so it was 6 years of trying to find.
6 years of, I didn't work. I stopped working.
Yeah, so it was like traveling for 6 years.
Traveling, hang out, just learning how to just be.
I love that.
I just stopped working. I've been working my whole life really, really hard.
I love that. Well, what age were you?
32 when I started this.
You were 32 when
I stopped working.
But that is the most, wow, you had an incredible life. Like a lot of people at 32 are still trying to find themselves, and you were able to leave something to find something better at 32. Yeah. So that's a blessing, actually.
It was a blessing, because I worked so hard. Not everybody can do that.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's a beautiful experience.
I sold the company, sold my share, and then I had enough savings to go and just start to live.
Yeah, right.
And then from there, see how it's like to slow things down, to connect to myself. What am I interested in? Learning how to be. I was like a child because I knew how to think and act the old way, but I didn't know how to do it the new way. And all I knew is that I don't want to repeat the old stuff. I don't want to create the same life, but I don't know what's right and what's wrong.
But let me just say mad respect for being able to build that way in your 20s and to be able to exit in your early 30s. What many only dream of having and doing, but they don't understand the grind that comes behind that, right?
Yeah.
But also you're part Chinese or full Chinese.
Full Chinese.
Full Chinese, and in Chinese culture, it's really about the parents wanting the best for their children. And it's about best schools, best education, best job, but so much about from a cultural perspective, because I have some Chinese friends, from a cultural, but I think it's also just in the Asian culture. They work their children so hard because they want their children to have the life maybe they didn't have, or to be as good as them, if not better. So depending on which scenario you're living, or maybe you came from poverty, or they didn't have the best, so they want you to have the best. There's so many different aspects to it.
We didn't
right?
get influenced by our parents by that much, my sister and I. It was
Oh
just
no,
us
it was
two.
true. Okay.
Yeah, because we were, my father traveled a lot, so he wasn't home that often. And my mother couldn't really control us really well, and we were just wild kids. So by the time I was 11, we were already planning on leaving, moving out.
Yeah.
And by the time I'm 14, we tried, and our bags were packed, we were out the door, but something happened, and we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
2 years later, we were successful.
So by 16, you were like, I'm out of here.
Yep. So then my sister and I moved out.
Yeah.
We got our own place. A few days later, she left. She left to Guam.
Wow.
So then I had my
on
own
your
apartment
own.
for like the next 9 months, which was fun. And then afterwards, her and I lived together until I was, I think like 19 or something like that. Then I just got my own place. So I didn't have a lot of the influence from the Chinese culture.
Yeah.
I mean,
But do you think maybe what was the influence from your situation?
I didn't want to be controlled.
Yeah, I was the same, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of kids don't want to be controlled.
No.
We grow up, like, I think it's not even children. Like, people don't want to be controlled.
Yeah, I wanted to do my own things. I want to live my own way.
Yeah, me too.
And
Me too. I feel you.
so
It was exactly like that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so many people can relate to this. Like the rebels in the family. Like I was called the black sheep actually. My mom was like, "You're just the black sheep in the family. You never listen to anything I say. You just like want to do everything your way." And yeah, but I mean, regardless if we're born in the same household, genetically we're not the same. Our microbiome too is just not the same. We're not the same people. Me and my siblings are so dramatically different as people, even though we grew up in the same home. Like the way we think, the way we live, the way we thrive are just so different that it doesn't mean just because you grew up in the same household that you're meant to be all the same. So sure, you're going to have, if you have 10 kids, don't you think like maybe one of those 10 kids would be different, right? You can't have them both equally the same. And there's a blessing to that. You got to allow every single person to be who they're meant to be. And we touched on the point earlier on the hustle culture. We are living in a hustle culture, whether we like to admit it or not. It's exponentially grown in terms of how much hustling we're doing today than we were doing back in the day. The demands and the expectations from us as people today has grown also by 100x in what people want from us always. And you're working 14, 15 hours but know how to center. I'm working 12, 13 hours but know how to center. I know when I need to take a week off and I take it. I don't use my phone. I'm not bound by what other people are telling me. But not everybody has that luxury. People have the 9 to 5. They report to a boss. They got bills to pay. It's very different for people. And, it's a very small percentage of people that are entrepreneurs. It's a hard job to be in.
They had to let go.
They
had to let go of. They had to surrender their old life. I walked away from so many things. And like when they're in this position to where they feel a little stuck, well, in reality, it's not that they're stuck. People think that they're bounded by so much rules.
Yeah.
The rules in their head There is no rule. There is no rule. You can live the way you want to live. There is no rule that says you have to do this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's your son, your mom, your dad, your sister, your wife. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever the heck you want. If you want to live a different life and this life is not for you, walk away, change it. But that means I can't. Why? You are saying you can't. Nobody else is saying you can't. Who's sitting there handcuffing you? You in jail? So people are holding on and they want something different and they're holding on to the past. In 2015, when I walked away so many times. When I walked away there, I was walking away from a company that was generating over 1.5 million a month in revenue, and I was known everywhere in the world. And I walked away from that. And I didn't care what I was going to get. We didn't come up with the deal for me. No, I said, I'm out. We'll figure it out. There was no deal, you know. I didn't care if I didn't get anything. Because
that was the awakening for you. Didn't care?
I didn't care.
Wow.
It's like when I it was a funny story when I didn't even have a lawyer, nothing. And then finally, my girlfriend at the time go, talk to my friend. He's a lawyer. Talk to him. His name is Russ. And I go, okay, fine. This is like 3 months after they sent me a letter kicking me out of the company. I'm like, how can you even do that? I'm like, but somehow it happened. And then I get on the phone with him and I tell him what happened, and he's freaking out. What? Why did you? No. I'm like, oh, it's okay. I'm like trying to calm him down. He's like going nuts. Mike, well, you should have done this, and now we gotta. So, but the point is, we have to walk away from things that we don't want if we want to create something else. If we don't walk away, we're always just holding on. When I started Six Pack back in 2010, I had to walk away as well. I was working for this gym called LA Fitness, and out of the 467 gyms and I don't know how many training general managers, I came in number 2 on the worldwide. We had these competitions. I was crushing it. I was really, really good at helping people transform between training and mental. And I remember when I walked away, I was right after I won this contest. It was like the bonus was like 12 grand, which is like the most ever. And I remember having dinner with this guy, you know, he's like the VP of sales. We're at this expensive steakhouse. And he tells me, he goes, Mike, you know, there's one thing you got to remember, which is everybody that works for you is one day going to leave. They're one day going to leave you. That's something you always need to remember. So you always need to be hiring. And I remember when he told me that, I was thinking he's right because I'm about to leave. He doesn't even know it.
Wow.
But I walked away from that. I walked away from a job that I was doing very, very well in to go and try to start the Six Pack. And over the next year and a half, I'm broke. This next year and a half, I got no money. I have overdrafts, just crazy overdrafts. Okay. I remember this one month, I was just thousands of overdrafts. Like I didn't have any money. I had an average of about $150 in my bank account for the next year and a half.
Yeah.
And all the money.
So it took a while for that brand to take off.
Yeah.
People think it's like instant.
No. I mean,
everything takes forever.
I let go of my credit. I had about over $500,000 in debt between credit cards and 4 houses.
Oh my God.
And the only way that I can start the Six Pack company was to stop paying everybody. And so I did. Now, I stopped paying everybody, and I was in the mortgage industry before, so I know about credit.
Okay.
I stopped paying everybody. I calculated that in 3.5 months, I'm going to lose this house. But I'm paying about $2,000 a month, give or take. And at 3.5 months, that's an extra, about $7,000. And then if I don't pay that and don't pay that and don't pay that, I'm going to accumulate just a small little nest egg, just long enough for me to have a chance to go and work on my business full time. Because I couldn't juggle both of them. I tried. 3 years later, I couldn't do it.
Got it.
Because I learned about internet marketing, like back when Tim Ferriss had his book, the 4-Hour Work Week. And 3.5 years later, I couldn't make it happen. So I said I needed to go all in. I can't just do this half thing. Yeah. So I walked away. And so I walked away so many times on so many things. And now I realize, if we really want something, we need to be okay with letting things go. And the only reason why people don't let it go is because they're afraid that it's not going to be better, and they're going to be afraid to fail. But when you just don't give a shit anymore,
Yeah.
you just
I've been in that state so many times, like when you just don't give a shit anymore, and it's so liberating. It's the best feeling ever.
afterwards we just get used to it. It's like we don't even care. We don't even get. It doesn't even matter. We get used to it, and that's how a person can become detached more and more. Is because they practice. Every time when we let things go, they get better at letting things go. When there was, it took me 3 years to let go of my body.
Oh,
Because at 2015, I was jacked. I was about
Okay.
190 pounds, 7% body fat. I was jacked.
wow.
And you know what I did?
That's crazy.
I stopped
so you
working
were
out.
like obsessed. You were
I
obsessed.
lived in. I'm a gym rat. You know,
You were
I
obsessed with your physique. You counted every calorie and
I didn't count calories, but I was obsessed with looking a certain way. That's who I was. That was my value. You know, if I didn't have my body, how can I help
so with
people?
that, did it come a lot of ego?
Huge.
You had a huge ego then.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
That one took me 3 years. I was able to walk away from not having the company and all those things, fine. But body,
An ego.
that took me 3 years. I remember 3 years in, I was driving down the freeway and I was in the car. I looked at my friend, his name is Josh, and I look and I go, "Hey Josh." He goes, "Yeah." I go, "I think I feel good now about my body." He goes, "Yeah?" I go, "Yeah. Like I don't feel like I need to be really big anymore. Like I feel fine the way I am."
So
He
did
goes,
you just like stop working out at all?
I was spending hours in the gym every day. I was eating 9 meals a day.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
stopped working out and I went to about 2 meals for the first 2 weeks and afterwards about maybe 3. And I lost 8 pounds like right away. And then my muscles just are shriveling down. And can you imagine, like everybody who knew me, I've been jacked most of my life. I started exercising at like 11. So people would tell me, "Oh, wow, Mike, you got skinny." Like the people that just blah. And then imagine like a bodybuilder who gets called skinny. And I mean, that's like death. And then the people that are nice, they go, "Hey, Mike, wow, you lean down." That's a nice way of saying it. After 3 years, I felt much better. I was okay with it. And I didn't have, I had, compared to regular people, I was fit. But compared to how I was shriveled, small, you know, out of shape. But I was actually okay with it. And then fast forward now, sometimes I put on a little more muscle. Sometimes I let it go. I don't care. I eat cookies and ice cream and cakes and banana breads all the time. I eat pizza. I don't care. I don't count calories. I eat in the middle of the night. My diet is not the best. It's just good enough for me to do what I do. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know.
You just do you. And that's the authentic way, right? To just do you, live the balanced life.
Yeah.
So do you think the hustle mindset helps you or harms you? That's a question.
Helps. Because that hustle mindset I had my whole life allowed me to go after this with everything I got, to learn how to become centered. It took so much. It took so much determination. So when a person has the drive, like that mentality is the gold. It's not about what they're going after. If you can succeed in one thing because you have the drive and the motivation, the self-discipline, you can take that mentality, that attitude, and apply it to something else. That's all I did. I applied it to letting go and to living free for those 6 years. Same mentality. Same mentality. The hustle mentality on being free. Not working, just playing. That takes, because, you know, can you imagine somebody that didn't have the drive and then everybody's asking him to go ahead and come back to work, come and work for me, do this, start this project all the time. No, 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 no. I'm good. Because I had that mentality to go do what I want, to really go after it. Yeah. And even going after doing nothing. That takes discipline.
It does, yeah.
So
Because especially when you're somebody that has been, you know, a hustler for so long and a perfectionist and a hustler for so long, building what you build, to take a step away from that and just do nothing takes a lot of
It
effort
does.
and courage, because you've always been doing something.
yeah.
You know, so 6 years of that. 6 years of just like, I'm in the flow.
I was just hanging out. I was living a totally different life.
But you feel like that life was better than the life before?
Not better, but very, very.
Why not better?
Because there is no such thing as better.
Why is there no such thing as better?
Because to say that something is better is to say that this situation creates all good situations after. or this person is really good, that means this person can never do anything bad.
No. No, of course not.
Then we'd have to say, this is better at this very moment right now.
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, but then at every moment it could be different.
It could be different, yeah. So it's better at the moment. So you've had better moments, let's just say. Have you had a lot of better moments from the time that you were building a six-pack? Did you have a lot of better moments? Because you were freer. There was no more this constant need to want to create, make, prove. You were no longer proving anything.
Six-pack
right?
was good for what it was.
Yeah.
Like, imagine you walk into this office, a 6,000 square feet office. You walk in and you see like 40 guys on headphones walking around shirtless, pounding Monster drinks, throwing footballs across, wrestling on there, and women, their sport tops, coaching and having fun. You walk in here, you're like, what the heck is this place? I see people with computers and headsets, but people are running around playing and laughing, and it's just like a wild house. And you see this really tall guy with his radio voice, all right, everybody, let's go. And you're like, what am I walking into? It's like Wolf of Wall Street meets Boiler Room meets Gold's Gym. That was the place. You see a pull-up bar right there. You see a huge screen. You see a big gong. You're like, what's going on in here? That was the office. It was crazy, and it was fun. I've always loved community, and at that state, that's what I built. So I can never say that was wrong, or, I mean, I had so much fun.
Yeah.
But
it's a different stage of life.
It's
a different kind of better.
It's a different kind of better. You can say, because there's different effects to living that way. I had fun. I really did. It was perfect for me during that time.
Yeah.
And now my fun is different. I still have a lot of people at the house. I mean, we're in Bali. We have 8 people alone running the house.
Oh, wow.
8 people. Yeah. From chef to gardener to the pool
like
handyman.
Living the life. You truly are living the life.
I always like having people around. I mean, the front door stays open. Like right now, when we go back over there, you'll see the front door is gonna be open. It just stays open from morning to evening.
It's like people just come and go all the time. It's like free.
Yeah.
It's an open house.
Oh, yeah. And the food is like that. We have all this food. Everybody eat whatever you want. It's
Okay,
just...
and like the employees that work for you now, obviously it's not near as close as how big it was when you were having the larger business, but it's still pretty big, and they're all based in Bali.
Well, we have 8 people
now?
just for the house.
Yeah.
For the team, we have maybe 20-something.
And this is global, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's global
Some
instructors
people are
and stuff.
here. Some people are Europe, States, Philippines, everywhere.
Yeah. What's it like managing people? Have you always been good at that?
It was a natural thing, but I wouldn't say I was good at it. I felt it felt natural to help people, to give suggestions, to support, coach, and train.
So you don't micromanage. You're not a micromanager.
I have in the past.
Yeah.
I feel that there's times. There's some people that need it because you let them go and they don't know what to do, and they're not.
You're right.
And there's some people that don't.
Right.
So now I just pay attention. Some people, they're doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And certain people, I'm on them like white on rice because it's needed at this moment. Now, I know for the future, my goal is I don't like to spend so much time doing the micromanage thing. Yeah. I have so many other things I should be focusing on. But I feel like now I just do what's needed. I just do what's needed. If it's micromanaged as needed for this person right now, then I do it now. Yeah. And then when it's not needed, I don't do it.
You know, there's a lot of spiritual sayings, and I've come into the space of spirituality so much more now than I was definitely in my 20s or even mid-30s. And I feel like I definitely am such a calmer, more enlightened person because I've accepted like spirituality into my life. And, you know, spirituality, I think people get wrong in this context because they think it's a religion. It has to be tied to a religion. But it's not that because it's just a belief system, right? And, you know, spiritual sayings do say that surrender means like the death of something, but actually it's the ultimate freedom. And for you today, what does surrender actually mean? To surrender.
Well, to surrender is to stop trying to control everything. On one level, surrender means being able to let our mind, our ego, our identity, to let it not control everything so much, to be able to have more trust. Surrender means being able to accept things the way they are, while at the same time going after what we want. Now, on one end, it looks contradictory, but it's not. If we dive into the minute, we'll find that at every moment, if we surrender, then that means we're accepting what it is. Now, at that point, once we accept what it is, what do you want to do? I want to do that. Great. Go do that. And then at the moment, surrender to what happened when you tried. And then what do you want? I want the same thing. Then do it again. Keep going. So the balance between surrender and going after what we want, that's how we can live. Because everybody wants something. But if somebody doesn't surrender, then here's what they're doing. They're saying that I don't surrender to what's happening, because the ultimate surrender is surrendering to the moment. That person, event, everything, it's all in the moment. If we surrender to that, what we're saying is I accept what is happening. But if we don't accept what's happening, then that means I am hoping or thinking that something else should be happening other than the way it has happened. Right? That's like a denial of reality, because reality is this. So we have to surrender. By not surrendering, we create unnecessary suffering, because we're trying to create this story in our head of what's happening when what's happening is what's happening. Take out the layers. Take out the sunglasses. Stop living in your own world and look at what's happening. And then when we actually see what's happening, that's surrendering. That's what's happening. Now, once we surrender, what do you want to do at this moment? If you want something, go after it and do it. That's the combination. And there's some people that go, I want nothing. Cool. Then you just go with the flow. Everybody says go that way. You want nothing, so you go that way because you don't care. And that's fine. And so if that's what it is, like those 6 years, I learned how to be in flow. I had very minimum preference, and I was dating a woman who was the most spontaneous person I've ever met. And wow, did I experience life.
Wow.
I lived in those 3 years more than I have in 10 years plus.
Wow.
Like the things that we got into,
I love that.
amazing. And I would have never been able to learn and experience so much if I was trying to have my preference. But that was like the ultimate surrender. And it was just very enjoyable and a big lesson.
This year is the year of the snake, and in Chinese astrology, that's obviously, it symbolizes deep transformation, shedding of old skins, old identities. So I wanted to ask you is, what had to die for Flow 60 to be born?
Well, Flow 60 was born when I made the 2 promises back in 2015 that I'm going to figure out how to sustain this within myself, and then I'm going to teach everybody else how to do it. From there, the idea, the mission was set. So what had to die was my old life.
Yeah, the version of yourself that you thought was the one that was, proving perfectionism, had to be the best at everything, was more focused on yourself than out. You were more inward than outward back in the day, yes?
Yeah, for sure. I had.
But I think we all were at some stage in life. We are more focused inward than outward. When we realize it's about outward and not inward, you expand more as a person.
Yeah, and we only go inwards when we really need to, and it's a nice balance.
Yeah.
Like when.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like in the evening time. I ask people, do practice twice a day. So this way, in the morning time, check in with yourself, get clear on how you're feeling, how you're doing, and then this way you can show up the best throughout the day. And then go through the day, do your stuff, and then at the evening time, do another practice to clear everything, connect back to yourself, and then afterwards go to bed. So this way we have like 2 checkpoints. Yeah. And those 2 checkpoints are nice because we never go really long without knowing how we're doing.
Yeah.
And so besides that, don't focus so much on yourself unless you're in that time of your life, which sometimes it is.
Bali is known as the heart chakra of the world. It's a place where you know, like you find your true sense of self. Do you feel like living here has changed a lot, not just in your mindset, but also in the way you use in your practice with Flow 60?
Yeah, for sure. This place it's very different than where I lived, you know, when I was in Austin. The only way to be able to really be okay here, you have to be okay with, you got to be in flow. If you're not in flow, you can't drive on this traffic. You'll get in an accident because there's not a lot of traffic lights or rules, and I mean it's like chaotic. You know, there's certain things like the home. You know, when I talk about my front door doesn't close, even when I was living in other homes, you don't have absolute privacy here. Like people that come here and they live here, people just walk in their house and they're like, whoa, whoa. And they're like, oh, it's ceremony. You know, well, yeah. And they go, oh, don't worry, we'll be out. So we're just going to go back there and pray. And it's like they don't care. It's just how it is.
Oh,
so there's
wow.
a certain level of surrender that has to happen. And there's a lot of other things like that, you know, the different rules.
So they don't compromise. They have boundaries.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, the lifestyle and the culture here is very different. But living here allowed me to be able to see a new way of living, to be very free. I mean, that's why I really enjoyed here. You know, because when I go back to the States or I go somewhere else, every place has its nice special thing. But for here, I feel freedom, connected to nature. You know, like I walk around barefoot, and you know, most people don't look at me funny. You know, some people once in a while. But if I do that somewhere else, I'm the only person around that does that. Here, sometimes I'll look down and see somebody else, and they're barefoot too. And I'm like, yeah. Cool.
And it's flow.
Yeah.
And I think we're all trying to achieve flow in life, right? I really love that name, actually, Flow 60. It's pretty cool.
Thanks.
And I love like the mission behind that too. And I'm sure like you've built such an incredible community, just like you built back then, because everybody craves flow. You know, to be able to combine physical with the mental aspect to it. And when that together is just explosive. Now, the traditional Stoic model of masculinity, and that's been questioned a lot recently. There have been reports that say over 70% of men still do not open up and talk about their problems. Now that you're a father to a son, has your view on masculinity changed a lot?
I wouldn't say so. When it comes to opening up, when we're not afraid, or when we decrease our fear, it allows us to be able to do what is needed. Sometimes we're in life that we need to be able to open up and we need to share more, but sometimes we don't. But the thing is, when we aren't, because fear controls us. Fear is like a program that's in our head, right? And when we aren't living so much by it, we're able to do what we need in the moments in our life, whether it's being a parent or whether it's an entrepreneur. We're able to do that. When it comes to like sharing, I want to talk on that really quick, because I think we're in a culture right now to where people find that everybody's about sharing their feelings. But here's the thing: if I'm upset and I share my feelings with you about me being upset, so then because I'm upset, the energy that I have is, let's say, anger. And then the way that I'm going to speak is going to be with an anger tonality and anger all around it. So now I'm not angry at you, but I'm angry. So then when I am speaking angrily to you, anger is coming at you. And so if you're going to receive it, you're going to either A, be able to let it go constantly as it's coming at you so you don't carry it, or B, you're going to absorb it because you don't know how to let it go. And then if you absorb it, then you're going to give it back to either me or give it to the next person. So then when I see partnerships where it's like, oh, it's all about feeling, and you got the husband, the wives going, hey, honey, I just want to tell you how upset I am and all this. It's like, well, you also have to remember, can your partner be able to hold space, or, in other words, not take it personally? In other words, are you going to get your partner upset? Because if you're upset and your partner don't know how to be able to hold the space for you to just express, you don't need to be expressing at that moment when you're upset. you need to go and let that go. And then when you're not upset anymore, if you still have a need to express it, do so. But if you don't, then don't. But don't go ahead and just because you think you need to go ahead and express your feelings, the moment that, you're not feeling well, you go and express it. That's like you're just throwing bad energy at everybody. And not everybody's able to go and just let it go. And so therefore, you create an environment of drama.
Oh, yeah, that's so right. That is so true and so right.
And so, like, in our programs, like, I tell them, like, we want to be expressive, yes, but understand that the way you feel, that emotion that you have, don't just go ahead and randomly throw it out. If you're going to go and do something that causes a lot of problems, like, for example, you're so upset, you're going to go ahead and cut yourself. You know what? Go ahead and yell at your partner because that's better than cutting yourself. Take the one that has less effect, less negative effect. But if you're going to yell at your partner and if you don't do that, you can go and punch a punching bag. You know what? Go punch a punching bag. Don't yell at your partner because you create less drama that way. Now, if you're going to go and punch a punching bag, but instead you learn how to go ahead and breathe and meditate, which one causes less negative effect? The breathing and meditate does. You should just do that. Don't punch the punching bag because if you keep punching the punching bag, you build aggressive behavior. You build the habit of when I'm upset, I do this. Now, right now it's at a bag, or next time it could be at a wall.
Yeah.
Right? It's less negative effect to practice breathing and meditating. But it's all based on what a person's able to do. So always pick the one that has the less negative effect, but what they're capable of doing. If a person can't breathe and meditate because they're about to cut themselves, go yell at somebody. Okay? Yeah. Go exert out, because it's not about picking the perfect one. It's about picking the best one that's available for that person.
Who is Mike Chang when no one is watching?
Yeah, I don't know. I do a lot of interesting random stuff,
Please tell us the random stuff we want to know.
Random stuff? Okay, well, here's the thing. So I'm posting last night. I'm on the couch, and then I'm draping off the side of the couch, like literally hang off. And I go, wait, this is great for blood circulation. People do inversion tables. Why don't they just hang off their couch? You know what I did? So then I'm there. I put the phone down, and I'm just hanging off the couch in weird ways. Yeah, and then I put my head on the ground, and then I'm rolling my head on the ground as I'm hanging off the side of the couch. That's me. I sit on tables, I stand on tables, I jump off of tables, I do random stuff. We have 2 stories, or 3, but I throw things off the second story, and I go, hey, Riza, check this out.
So you're just basically moving all the time. You're a man of movement. That's pretty much it, basically.
Well,
that's Mike Chang when no one's watching.
There's a lot of everything.
He's just a man of movement.
Well, sometimes you'll see me go into the honey jar and I'll eat ungodly amount of honey.
Okay, so you have an obsession with honey.
I have a massive sweet tooth.
Okay.
I mean, it's
by the way, how do you manage that? For someone in this space about caring about fitness and mental health, how are you managing your sweet tooth addiction?
So, if I eat a lot of sweets, I need to do my best to balance it out. Move.
Yeah, move.
Now, right now, it's got to be probably close to maybe 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I haven't eaten yet.
Yeah, okay, so you've just been fasting.
Or I woke up too late and I didn't have time to eat.
And you had to rush to the podcast interview.
Yeah, I did practice and then didn't have time to eat, had to go. I find I just do the best with balance.
Yeah.
But I live really, really freely because I learned how to listen. I learn how to listen. I understand me. And when we understand ourselves, we don't need so much boundaries and rules.
I see that you don't have any wearables. So you clearly do not track anything because, it's massive now. Everybody's tracking everything, and everyone has either a smartwatch or a smart ring or a heart monitor or like crazy things, right? And biohacking is this like crazy new term. Is like everybody's biohacking their health. Well, you're the opposite of that because like you're also bringing people back to the basics because what biohacking is today is what the ancients were doing all those years ago just without the wearables.
When we control our attention, we can bring our attention to wherever we want. So biohacking, where are these wearables? All that is a device that is measuring something. But why don't we use our attention to go and find out what's going on? How do we know what's going on in our head? Oh, we're looking at all these brain waves. Take your attention to your mind, you know what's going on in your head.
Yeah.
And you can tell if you're negative, positive, or if you're quiet, etc. Yeah. Take your attention to your body, and you know how your body is feeling. Yeah. You can sense, is there pain? Is there pressure? Yeah. Is there nervousness and agitation? You know, is there something wrong with your heart? Take your attention and bring it to your heart. Control our attention.
Do you do any like blood tests? Are you checking yourself at all? You don't do any tests or anything. You just like listening. But do you feel that that's good? Because like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people don't do any tests because they wait for something and then they don't do anything.
I developed the ability to be able to listen to my body.
So good.
And
how do we teach people that?
Well, they need to do practice. Yeah. They need to
so
go
what's the
and
practice? What's the practice? Is it just like creating more awareness? Is it through Flow 60? Like, what's the practice that you do so that people can do without having to just be like, I need to do my yearly checkup, which, by the way, I think is healthy. Like, people need to do yearly checkups. In Japan, that's a common thing. It's part of your insurance that you do a yearly checkup, and that's why they're living till, like, really old, is because if something's wrong, they know. They see it.
You see, so if a person feels that way, then they should do it.
Yeah.
Just like if a person feels like they should wear shoes, then wear shoes.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody should be barefoot, you know. But we're not bounded by rules. We live the way we want. If a person feels they should, they should. For me, I developed the ability to be able to do that. Like when I was bodybuilding, I didn't weigh a single food ever.
Yeah.
I didn't count calories ever.
You just ate 9 meals a day.
I ate 9 meals a day and didn't count
how does
calories.
anybody eat 9 meals a day? That's insane.
Chew very fast, swallow very fast, and get really quick at cooking.
By the way, chewing very fast and eating very fast is not healthy at all. It's not a healthy way of doing things.
Right.
And that's why you gave it up. And that's why you're doing something completely different now.
I did it for a long time. Yeah. It's just, you know, you should see me. I used to put a shaker to my mouth, like a full, not a shaker, a blender full of protein. And I'll just hold it there until it's gone.
Wow.
Until the whole thing is gone.
If I could give anything right now to meet you at that time and know you then and then know you now, that would be priceless.
Watch some of the old videos.
But it's not the same as knowing you in person than seeing it on a video, you know, because having to be around you and being your friend at that time and seeing you live that life, and then now you're like completely different. Like, wow, that's a transition to remember.
There's a certain aspect that's still the same. There's still a little bit of the craziness. It's just craziness in a different way.
Yeah, but crazy is good, you know. I think anyways, like Steve Jobs says, you need to be crazy to be able to change the world. Yeah. You can't be like everybody else, right? And we're not like everybody else kind of people. Yeah. And we don't want anyone else to be like everybody else, like the sheep. Yeah. We want to be the wolves, and we're just going to be those kind of people. So 60% of high achievers still have the issue with imposter syndrome. I know at some stages in my life I still have it too. And I just want to ask you, what is the type of fear that still visits you today? Because we all have fears. And you're going to be lying to me now if you tell me you're fearless, because there's nobody fearless in that sense. We still have it, you know?
Fear is always going to be there if we have identity.
Yeah.
Because with identity is desire, and with desire is either I'm going to get it or I don't. Because when we desire something, we want something, and either two things are going to happen: we get it or we don't. And so, fear comes from that.
Yeah.
It always going to come from that. When I think about what am I afraid of, there are aspects of me that's afraid that I'm not going to be a good father, not the best father I could be. Part of me is afraid that I'm not spending enough time with my son because I'm spending so much time working and building everything. Sometimes I'm afraid that what happens if my health goes down so much and I can't help other people because I can't physically move and do all that stuff. What happens if there's a blackout that goes out and suddenly all the digital money is gone?
Wow. By the way, the blackouts here are crazy, right? You've had some times where it's like days, like maybe a couple of days or like 24 hours. The outages can be extreme.
The longest one I think was maybe 8 hours.
Oh yeah,
7
that's
hours,
crazy.
something like that.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So these things will come up. What I find is the intensity of the fear has decreased to such a point that it doesn't have the same effect anymore. It's there, but there's a difference when we have so much fear that it stops us. We have so much fear that it's very, very it doesn't allow us to go and function. We just end up getting stuck or just freeze. Versus we have fear, we're aware of it, it feels uncomfortable, we can let it go and move on. It may end up, taking us 20, 30 minutes. It may affect us 20% versus somebody it could affect them a lot more. Fear will always be there, just as long as there's a sense of self and ego. But how much of it? It's like there's rocks on the road. But it's easier to walk if it's smooth. But there's rocks on the road, we can just step over it. There's small hills, we can climb over it. Versus sometimes it can be mountains, and that's really tough to climb over.
Oftentimes, the more visible we become, I feel like the more invisible our real self becomes. And I think in that space, I would give, because I see this all the time, and I'm going to give a celebrity for people to relate with, like Justin Bieber. He's so misunderstood. And there's so many things that, go out about him online and social media that I see all the time. And like his like hate and anger with social, like people, these paparazzis always take him because they always put everything out of context. And they take like a shot of him, which maybe he isn't looking the best, and like completely take it out of context and make it look like he's worse than he already is. And, with fame comes a lot of, let's just say, negative aspects to it, which a lot of really successful people battle with mental health issues. They either like overdose on something, commit suicide. They can't handle it because it's not what they signed up for. They wanted to maybe, create their passion and develop something, and he wanted to just sing. He was a young singer and wanted to sing. An actor wanted to act and be on stage and feel that was their passion. But the downsides of that is all those things that I mentioned, right? We lose, we become invisible from who we truly are because, a persona or perception of us is created that isn't who we actually are. So what are things that are misunderstood about you today?
People think that I naturally have good habits when I don't. I have terrible habits. I binge everything. I have such an addictive behavior. I don't watch shows because I watch them like movies, which means I watch them all right away.
Oh my God.
So I'll sit in front of the TV for like 16 hours. I'll drink a coffee and just sit there and keep watching. I have a massive sweet tooth. I have a whole food diet, which means I eat whole tubs of this, whole tubs of that. I eat whole cakes. Yes, that's no joke. No joke. When you see me eat, people always go, "Where the heck does it go?"
I'm dying.
It's like, well, there's the consequence of the next day when you see me on the toilet there, and it's like, yeah, that's where it went. Yeah. So I have really bad habits. That's what drove me to have to get good at creating good habits, because if not, I would just constantly be having all of those bad habits. They still come up sometimes. Yeah. They still do.
But anyone who says, like, except for Brian Johnson maybe, anyone who says that they basically never have a bad day or like eat bad food is lying. Because it's hard to just not have like, a cheat day, whatever we call it, because at least you're honest about it and you're truthful, and we don't have to pretend to like say like we're like living, breathing perfect people and we will never touch a piece of carb or have a piece of ice cream, or because it's just literally not true. If you're gonna have it, at least you're honest about it. Yeah. Now I want to ask you, there are a ton of reports that are going out in the world today, is that anxiety and depression has grown by 25-30% since the last decade. And I'm not going to say that it's getting better because I work with people and I see it all the time that anxiety and depression is not helping. It's still prevalent and people are lonely. People don't feel that they are connected or part of the community, especially if you're an expat and live in larger cities and you're trying to, make it for yourself and you're trying to meet people and just you're not connecting with people and you find it very difficult, specifically today with the amount of dating apps and, trying to navigate relationships and meeting the right person. And, there's a reason why relationship books and podcasts and TV shows are so so popular and they're watched so much. It's because people are trying to navigate how to find the best relationship. Why do they feel so alone and disconnected and depressed? And we're always chasing the wrong things. So even though we know that depression is going up and anxiety is going up, we're still as a society so focused on external validation instead of really focusing on inward. And also, even if you are someone that's built, a successful business because you've built community and all of that, you are not free from anxiety. You develop it at some stage in your life, right? So what do you think is currently the misunderstood part of transformation that people just have misunderstood when it comes to total human transformation? What is it? What are the elements that we need to do today that can help us deal with anxiety and depression and the narrative that's going out there that's really wrong that you can correct for us today?
Well, we have to look at the source of anxiety. Anxiety is a combination of mind. They're constantly worried about what other people are thinking about them. They're worried about things. It's also a combination of their body. They feel the sensation, the discomfort, and then they may have, when they feel that way, energetically, their energy is very dense. And perspective-wise, they look at the world and they go, where's the problem? There's a problem here. They don't realize it's coming from within. They look at it and go, there's a problem. Then we find what it is, and they create a problem in their mind. That's anxiety. That's mental health issues. So then, and when I look about how to solve it, it's really simple. All a person needs to do is move their body so they can start to, the moving is a means to an end. What really needs to happen, the outcome, is that they need to be able to calm down. Because a person cannot have anxiety if their body is calm.
So is that breath work or is this, what kind of movement is it?
In reality, the tools and the resources and the methods are infinite.
Yeah, they are infinite.
It's so many.
It's so many.
But the outcome is still the same. The body needs to be balanced. Balance is another way of saying it. I call it calmness. A person call it, the parasympathetic nervous system needs to be activated. But the body needs to be balanced. It needs to be calm. It needs to be more still. When that happens, anxiety can't exist.
Yeah.
It's like imagine that in our mind, in our body, we're feeling calm and relaxed. Now in our mind, let's talk about the craziest, worst, scariest things. If our body doesn't respond, it's just want, it's just words. There's no experience of the scary things. But the experience comes when our body acts in that way. So on the level of the body, we need to do things to get our body to be relaxed. We need to get it to be calm. We need to get it to be balanced. So that has to do with nutrition, sleep, movement. That has to do with things like meditation, right? There's massages, and there's all these different forms of things, all the different tools out there. The outcome needs to be that. Now, the approach that I've looked at it as is, how can I go and empower everybody to be able to do that and not have it to be where you need to be some special person who has special access. I want everybody to be able to access the tools.
I want to say a point on that because there's a lot of people that have extreme amounts of anxiety, go to a doctor and get diagnosed with ADHD and then be prescribed with a pill. And then they've been taking, for example, the pill for the 10 years,
Yeah.
and then they want to get off the pill.
Right.
It's super hard for them to get off something because they end up feeling more depressed than when they started taking the pill. So what would you say to somebody who is currently in this situation, who has been diagnosed with severe ADHD, doesn't want to go through the pill, right? And want to help themselves kind of like get back to a state of like flow and calmness and not feeling like everything in the world is about to attack them. People with, I mean, I've been around people with ADHD, and like literally their world and the way they think is so different from the way a normal brain thinks, right? So what would you say to someone like that?
Well, it will be the same thing, except that they have to put a lot of attention to themselves.
Yeah.
Because
A lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like me, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about my health.
Yeah,
I'm focused on everything else.
Yeah.
But a person who hasn't spent much time taking care of themselves, they now have to. So now they have to spend a lot of time with exercise. All of their social stuff is going to be involving health-related things, from sports to gatherings of sound healings and healthy food, all of this stuff, so they can totally make this complete 180 change.
Yeah.
They would need to. They can't just go and dabble, because they've been on meds too long. They have neglected their body too long. They have to go to the extreme if they want to make a real change to come back to balance.
Yeah.
So they'll need to do that.
Yeah.
And
Just
so,
put harder work into it.
yeah, which means that they'll have to let go of some of the things that they're currently spending their time on. And that's where we were talking about earlier with the whole surrender. And a person like that usually is holding on to what they have, and they also want better health. And then they're complaining that they're not able to do it because, you know, they don't have the time, or
Yeah,
but
but
you gotta
because the
let go.
ADHD brain, it works very differently, right? The way that they're trying to seek dopamine is very different from a normal brain. So their dopamine hits is they're using different type of things and tools to be able to get the dopamine hits.
Generate it from the body. Start moving. But they can't go from not doing much exercise
Yeah.
to, you know, suddenly doing 60 minutes or longer. Like, do 5 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And then they start to generate this self-dopamine making machine in their body. You know, and they start to feel better.
Okay, I'm going to provide you with words, and I want you to give me one sentence raw truth based on these words. Okay? And they're fireside, so they're going to be fast. Okay. First one, suffering.
It's needed because change won't happen without it.
Fame.
Totally overlooked. It's really a lot of work to have to take pictures with everybody all the time.
Abandonment.
It doesn't happen purposely, and we should switch perspectives and realize that nobody is purposely trying to leave you. They're just trying to do the best for their life. It's not personal.
Fatherhood.
Super tough. Respect to all the dads out there.
Freedom.
Everybody is really searching for that, and no matter what you build in life, if you don't have that, you'd have nothing.
Flow.
That's the ultimate state where you are out of your head and out of your way, and that's the best way to live, in my opinion.
Success.
Everybody should have that, but success looks different for each person. It's all about going after what you want, and if you get what you want, whatever that is, that's success.
Ego.
Hello. That's me.
Masculinity.
I think there's a balance between masculinity and feminine, and that we shouldn't focus so much on it, and therefore let our natural expression happen. Sometimes you can be masculine, sometimes you can be feminine. If you don't focus on it, just let your natural expression be. Don't label everything.
Legacy.
Some people leave it, some people don't. Doesn't matter, because when you're out, and you won't really care anyways.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't care about that too. Like literally, like they don't want kids because they don't care about that aspect of life, and others want it because they want those aspects of life. So to each their own, right?
Yeah.
To each their own. We're not. I think the narrative that people need to understand today after this super insightful, incredible conversation is that we are not what other people tell we are. You know, we are who we think we are, and I think that is the most liberating, most incredible, most profound experience anyone can feel. And when you finally understand your state of flow, you will never be more happier than that. And it was only when I turned 40, and it's actually true what they say, you know. We never listen to people's advice until we actually reach that age and we're like, yo, that was true. You know, we do whatever we want until we come to the realization ourselves. So this is why I always say, when it comes to advice, we always follow our own intuition at the end. We listen to what other people say, maybe for like validation or whatever it is we need it for. We give people fragments of whatever we want to say about the story. We get the validation we need, but we follow our own advice anyway. So if we do that about every single thing, why are we listening to other people's opinion about us, how we should live, thrive, be? And so my takeaway from this conversation is that let's just live in flow. Let's just be our authentic self and embody who we are truly meant to be. Like Dr. Suzuki say, find your ikigai. And in every stage of your life is a new ikigai.
Yes.
And the only way to live to 100 and past that is to be able to accept that ikigai changes throughout. And if you can live every decade of your life knowing that you can find a new ikigai, that will give you the longest, most happiest, most fulfilling life. Thank you so much, Mike, for being a part of the Be That Life experience. You're truly an incredible person, and everything that you do for this world and for your children and for your wife is truly appreciated, not just by me, but for everybody in your community that follows you.
Thank you so much, Mary.
We can go on, I got like 10 more questions.